Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. We have had an incredible telethon thus far. And if you're just tuning in, thank you so much for joining us. My name is Kristen Goodman. I'm one of the volunteers that's helping to run this 24-hour event. And we really appreciate those of you who have been tuning in and watching us and following along. This morning, we have a really special segment that I desperately need because I know all of our bodies are sore on this long event. We're going to get our bodies moving with some gentle yoga flow with Tiger Rahman, who's standing here next to me. Tiger began practicing yoga in 2014 after a series of shoulder injuries and long hours of desk work left him with debilitating back and shoulder pain. I can totally relate. It wasn't until 2016 that he found the nerve to take a class in a studio, and even then only because it was included in the day pass at a gym he was visiting with a friend. Since then, he's been pursuing ways to connect his physical and philosophical yoga practice with the communities and issues that matter most to him, including completing yoga teacher training through Yoga Pipeline. You can follow Tiger, find out about places he's teaching, and learn more about his approach to holistic productivity on Instagram or Facebook at Live Your Own Life. So I know I'm personally really excited about following along on this practice. I have my mat set up here off stage, and I'm really looking forward to this segment. So thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
I'm going to clear this area and let you kind of take over. I'll turn up your music a little bit.
Cool.
And if you're just tuning in, you'd like to follow along at home with some lovely morning yoga, please do. And if you'd like to share this video with your friends, we would love for all of you folks to tune in and share with your friends so that we can raise this amazing funding that MTUG so critically needs, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Great. Well, without further ado, let's pass it off to Tiger. Thanks.
Cool, thank you so much. Yeah, so I was listening to a little bit of the telethon this morning when I was driving over, and it reminded me a little bit about the theme. So I mentioned my interest in yoga philosophy, which is really like a key cornerstone. And I'd been thinking about the fact that like the universe is this giant complex thing, and that so often the complexity of trans identity and gender and all of the intersecting identities that get layered into that are not appreciated or not honored, and that by not doing that, you're actually kind of like not honoring the universe itself. Like the universe is complex, let's get on with it and like really lean in. And so today's practice has some anchoring in the theme of contentment, which is called Santosha in the Niyamas, which is one of the branches of yoga philosophy. So just for today, inviting you to think about how you can find contentment in your own self and your own complexity, and also invite that in from others to encourage them finding contentment and also getting to a place where we can honor the complexity that we all bring. So we're gonna get started lying down because it's morning time. We won't be here too long because it's a little risky. You know, you could always fall back asleep. But one of the most common asanas or poses in yoga is referred to as Shavasana. And so it's, I think, good to just explain what the poses are. So it's not just lying down. So in Shavasana, you're going to be lying down on your back. And your goal is to make yourself long and open, bringing your shoulder blades back together. And so it'll look just like you're lying down on the floor, right? So we're here, but I'm opening my shoulders across my chest. I'm pulling my shoulder blades together. I'm kind of inching my heels towards the edge of the mat. And if I can, kind of snaking my head further away. So really getting long. And let's start here. Let your feet hang heavy to the sides if that's comfortable for you. And take a few moments to find your breath this morning. And a lot of a yoga practice is about finding where you are at that moment and being content with that and being present in that. And we can start to pull our knees in towards our chest. And again, you feel free to modify this in any way that works for you. I'm going to take some knee rotations, keeping my hands on my knees and just turning them clockwise and counterclockwise. You can let your left leg come down, keeping your right knee up, and just broaden that circle a little bit, so more of a hip rotation. And reverse the direction. So just starting to bring in some gentle movements. You can switch legs. A lot of these types of things you can also do seated in a chair. So if you are stuck behind the desk because you're working a 24-hour shift, a lot of these things you could probably do just from where you are, if you wanted to. Cool, we'll pull our knees back in, give ourselves a little bit of a hug, maybe a rock back and forth to start waking up the spine. And can come up to a seated position here. I'm gonna face front. So seated positions, there's a lot of them. The classic one is kind of a cross-leg pose. Or I brought my yoga blocks. I'm all about the props. They make things easier and gentler, but also different. So you can, lean in different ways. So if you do have some blocks, you can stack them under your hips and sit in what's called a hero's pose. But really anything that's comfortable for you is great. And so from here, we're gonna bring our hands towards our knees wherever they are and start to bring our heart forward, maybe opening up so chin towards the ceiling and curling back. And try to lead the action from the base of your spine and work it up, so more of a wave. I don't know if it's sunny today. It was dark when I got here, but maybe the sun's up by now. And if you can find a breath with this movement, try to see if you can sync them up in a way that makes sense in your body. And you can bring in some gentle neck rotations, so bringing your left ear towards left shoulder, rotating over your chin back to your right side, right ear to right shoulder. Especially in the morning, it's good not to do big gestures with your neck. Your spine is super delicate. We all want to live a long time if we can. From here, we'll bring some shoulder movement in. So if you've got a strap or like an infinity strap, you could also grab that. So your hands on a strap or just on your shoulders. We'll start rotating just from our shoulders. So not going all the way in to twist from our hips, but just doing a sort of a washing machine cycle up top. And again here, see if you can find a way to sync your breath with your movement. And you might release shoulders and let your hands come to the sides. You can find whatever tempo you like. I like to kind of work up and down and let energy start moving through me in a different way. If you'd like to, you can try flexing and closing your fists and notice how much energy there is even just in your hands. And we can bring our hands together and bring them down to our heart center. So another practice in yoga, so there's philosophy, there's asanas or poses, but there's also a practice of pranayama, which is working to control your breath. Today I'm going to introduce one pranayama called nadi shodhana, or alternate nostril breathing. We'll do it a little bit at the beginning, and then we'll try it again a little bit at the end. And this breath in particular is more of a cooling, calming breath, so you can, again, use it anytime in your daily life. What you can do is with your hand, you can take your 3 middle fingers and fold them in, so you'll get your pinky out to one side and your thumb out to the other side. And we'll start on our right side, so you'll bring your thumb up to sort of like the top of your nostril. So you're not like clamping your nostril shut, just sort of pinching it a little bit. And you'll inhale in through the left side. You'll bring your pinky up to that same sort of position on the left, and then you'll exhale out on the right. And then exhaling out on the right, you'll then inhale in on the right and switch back. So you can do 3 rounds of this at your own pace. I know it's cold season, so if you feel that your nostrils are a little closed off, this can actually be helpful for starting to reopen them as well. So we'll come to start our movement practice when we're all ready. I'm gonna try to alternate in modeling with blocks and without. And I'll turn from left to right, so you can kind of see 2 angles if you're new to yoga or if you haven't really gotten into that. So we'll start with sort of coming to our knees and finding a tabletop position. So here, I'll actually do this on the side. You'll want to have your knees pretty much under your hips and your wrists under your shoulders. It's always sort of hard to spot yourself, so just get to where you think feels pretty balanced. We'll push back, so you're pushing your hips back towards your heels. And you can extend your hands out in front a little bit, or you can keep them where they are and just fold. And this is not about the shape. You don't need to come to a particular depth. Wherever works for you is good. So this is our child's pose. We can come back up to our tabletop position, and here we'll curl our toes and start to push our hips back, but this time we'll come up as well. And we're pressing into the floor with our hands, keeping elbows rotated towards the back of the room if possible. And this is our downward facing dog. You can let this go and come back to tabletop. So again, with your own breath, you can move through that as a round, pushing back towards child's pose. Maybe inhaling to rise up back to tabletop and exhaling out to downward facing dog. So if you're using blocks, this looks very much the same. You'll just have your hands on your blocks, maybe on the widest setting, and you'll push back here. I like to use blocks because I'm convinced that my upper body and lower body are not the same length, as many people's are not, so they're really useful. So we'll come from here and we'll start stepping forward with our right foot and our left. And coming to a forward fold. So here you are letting yourself hang heavy. Your neck is neutral, so you're looking between your knees usually, or your shins. Keep a soft bend in your knees. We don't want to hyperextend and get them locked. We want to protect the knees. Sometimes it's helpful to hold on to the backs of your legs and actually kind of pull your chest towards your thighs. So again, you don't have to touch the floor or anything, but if you want to, you can just bend as much as you want to do that. That's fine. There are no rules. There are no yoga police. They're not going to come and get you. We'll inhale up to a half lift. So here we're starting to bring our shoulder blades back again. And this is similar as in Shavasana. So we're opening across the tops. Exhaling back down to forward fold. And slowly inhaling to rise up. Hands rising up overhead. And letting them come down to heart center, or maybe opening to your sides. So come to the front here. So this top position where we are now just standing up is called mountain pose, or Tadasana. And it's a foundational posture for any standing pose. So a way to think about it, you want to start from your feet. And I like to kind of rock back and forth a little bit on my feet until I find a point where I start to feel a little lightweight, like weightless. Your toes might curl a little bit, but you're not like grabbing onto the mat for dear life. So a gentle curve. Again, your shoulders are rotating back, your palms are facing forward. With your feet, it's almost like you're trying to rip your mat in half. So you're actually activating your legs and pushing out towards the sides. Your navel is coming in towards your spine, and you're open and tall, and it's actually a very active pose. From here, we'll inhale, hands up overhead. Exhale back down to our forward fold. Take a round of breath here. Inhale to our halfway lift. Exhaling back to forward fold. Inhaling, coming to rise and stand. Hands up overhead, and letting them return to our sides and finding our active mountain pose. And if your breaths don't sync up with my cues, that's great. It's fine. It's just a suggestion. We'll do one more half salutation and we'll go into sun salutation. So we'll inhale, hands up overhead, exhaling them down to forward fold. Coming to our halfway lift. Exhaling to a forward fold again. And coming to rise up. And so if you just want a gentle wake up, this is a great thing to do. It's not particularly aerobic, it's just a nice wake up movement. So we'll come to our sun salutation A now. So we'll inhale, hands up overhead. Exhaling to forward fold, so the beginning is the same. Halfway lift. This time you'll bring your hands towards the mat or to your blocks. I'll use blocks here. And we'll take a step back with our right and our left and find a plank position. Recommendation to allow yourself to bring your knees to your mat. So from here, you'll come to lower down, and you want your hands to be around your ribs. You can curl your chest open for a back bend, a cobra, or if you raise your whole body off, an upward facing dog. Pushing back up into our downward facing dog. So we're finding that tabletop kind of position, curling your toes and pushing back. Take a few rounds of breath here. And this is an inversion. So if inversions are contraindicated for you, you can just stay in a tabletop position. And you might let your head come forward to get some length in your neck rather than the inversion. We can take a step forward with our right and our left. Coming to a half lift. Letting ourselves down into forward folds. And inhaling to rise up. And we'll do 2 more rounds. I'll take this next one from the side so you can see a side view. So we'll find our mountain pose, active and tall. Hands up overhead, forward fold, halfway lift. Hands come towards mat or block, stepping right and left foot back. Coming towards the floor. Curling your chest up. Flipping toes and coming up to downward facing dog, however works best for you. Take a few breaths here. When it feels right to you, you can come forward with your right and left foot. Half lift, bringing shoulder blades together. Forward fold. And coming back to standing. And we'll take one last round. And you should take this at your own pace. Hopefully you have been already. Inhale, hands up. Forward fold. Halfway lift. Finding your way to the floor. Finding your back bend. And finding your downward facing dog. If you want more of a back stretch here, you can always bend your knees, and that actually is a really nice back stretch too. Coming back towards the top of the mat. Half lift. Forward fold. And inhaling to rise up. And finding our mountain pose. So that's the sun salutation A. It's one of the most common sequences there is in yoga, particularly in the West. There's also some cool shapes that you can make and just ways of moving around the mat that also has to do with this like alternation. So in the body, there's thought to be a couple of channels. And there's a masculine current and a feminine current. So it's good to do the alternation so that you're activating all of the things. So the theories go. So we're gonna play a little bit more with alternating, not in the breath this time, but in a more physical way. So I'm gonna start on this side. So we'll start at the top of our mat here. And we're gonna take a big step back with our left foot. You'll want your knee to be behind your ankle. It doesn't have to be totally on top of it, so you can take whatever amount of bend you'd like. With your left foot, you're gonna let the heel come towards the floor, and it may not reach the floor, that's fine. If you have more stability in your heel, it might just sort of hover, that's cool too. You can always put something like a blanket or a pillow under it if you want to feel more grounded, but it's fine if it's up in the air. So from here, our hips, we want to sort of put your thumbs behind them and start rotating towards the right-hand side. So you'll want your hips to be facing as much in the direction of your right toes as possible. You can find an arm option, you can raise them up overhead, or maybe out to like cactus arms, or you could bring them behind you. That's totally your choice. Either way, this is a warrior one. From here, we'll pivot our toes towards the left, So they'll both be facing in the same direction, and move your feet as you need to so that they're lining up with each other. And here you can come to lean forward. Maybe you're letting your head hang heavy. Maybe you're stretching to left and right. You know your body best. You do you. And we'll now rotate to the left. So this time our left toes are pointing forward. And we're bringing our right foot with us, so they'll be sort of off at a 45-degree angle. We'll use our hands to help encourage our hips towards the front of the room. Finding your arm option here. I'm gonna bring a block with me, so we're gonna step up to the top of the mat. And here we're gonna find a tree balance, or the tree pose. And there's a bunch of options of ways you can pursue this. So in its simplest form, you can take your right foot and bring it to sort of a 90-degree angle. And just slide your heel up any amount on your left calf. So your right heel is on your left calf. Actually come over here. So this is tree, really. From here, you can find different options. So if you don't know about your balance, you can use something like a block or a very tall dictionary or old encyclopedias that nobody's using, and balance on those. You could bring your foot to your calf. If you wanted to go higher, you can try something like that. If you are going higher, you want to go past the knee, so never pressing into your knee. So here I'm really pushing into my left thigh. And you can bring hands to heart center or rise up. It's really useful here to find what's called a drishti, or a focal point. I think that it actually translates to gaze in Sanskrit. So whichever option you find is delightful. And they're all different, they all do different things. We can bring our feet back down to the floor. So we just did a rotation, a 180 rotation. So now we're gonna take it the other side. So we're gonna kick our left foot back again. So right toes forward. We'll find our warrior one, squaring our hips towards the front of the room, finding an arm option. If you have tight shoulders, like I often have had in life, you can give yourself a hug here. This is a variation on an eagle pose. And so it'll stretch out the backs of your shoulders, or you could rotate, flip your backs of hands towards each other. That's a nice little option. You can now rotate the other way. So now we're facing the opposite side in our wide leg forward fold. For the sake of the camera, I'm gonna take a counter pose and stretch out the front of my shoulders. And we'll start rotating towards the left here. So left toes forward, finding our warrior one on the left side. Maybe I'll take warrior or eagle arms again. We'll step forward and we'll find our tree again. And so when we rotate back the other way, we'll end up doing tree on the other side. So here again, we're keeping our left foot down, letting your weight come into that foot, using your toes to find balance, and pressing your right knee out towards the side. Go to front again. So we want to try to find as much openness as we can. Take a few rounds there and come out when you're done. If you fall out before you're ready, then jump back in. So we're at our top of our mat here, and we'll take the same cycle with maybe a little less talking for me, just in reverse. So here we'll kick our right foot back, finds that warrior one. We'll rotate towards the right. Taking whatever stretches you want here. Rotating again towards the right, finding our warrior one here. Hips squared toward the front of the room. Stepping forward with the left, and if you're feeling really confident, you can see if you can step directly into a tree. And let that come down. There's a line in the Yoga Sutras, which is like the main book about the form of yoga that's most commonly practiced in like asana classes. I think it is Sthira Sukhanasana, which means a steady, comfortable pose. So if you're in your tree and you're like wobbling all over the place, probably come to like a lower tree because you really want to find the steadiness and comfort in a posture. That's really what the practice is about, is finding that. So we'll do the same thing. We're going to continue that rotation. Right foot back, warrior one. And so if you need to ease up to introduce some steadiness and ease, do that. Rotating again towards the right, finding a stretch here. Another rotation to the right, warrior one. And maybe taking the challenge to step forward into a tree. And you can come and let that go. And so that kind of rotation where you're going 360 degrees around a mat is often called a mandala or a mandala. Not sure on pronunciation there. So we'll start coming to a close here. So we're standing at the top of our mat, and we can just let our front right knee bend, bringing our left knee back behind us in a kind of a low lunge. From here, again, if you've got blocks, it's great to use them. If not, use the floor and find something that is steady for you. And tip your right toes up towards the ceiling and start to lean forward over your right leg. This is half splits or Ardha Hanumanasana. It's a fun mouthful. You can release that stretch and bring your left foot sort of in front. So you're going to make a figure 4 shape on the floor. So your right leg is going to be going forward. Your left foot will be into your right thigh. And here, our goal is to hinge forward, not necessarily to touch our toes, but to start hinging forward and bringing our chest and heart towards the floor. And it's really about bringing your head towards your knee. So your arms don't need to go anywhere particularly far at all. This is a cool thing to hang out in for a while if you have some time to really just get a deep stretch in. You can find out all sorts of things out about yourself. But stay here for just a few breaths. start to back out of that. With your left leg, you can bring your left foot over your right thigh, so it'll be kind of crossed. I'll rotate again. And here, bring your knee in towards your chest, so you'll get a little bit of a stretch in the outer hip. You can release that back, so now your left foot's just on the floor. And you could twist out towards the right. So here I'm using almost my elbow against my knee to twist out. And you can release that as you're ready. And we'll just do the same thing on the other side. So coming back into our runner's lunge, this time left foot forward. Time I'll use my blocks. So left foot forward, right back, leaning back, tipping my toes towards the ceiling, letting myself hinge forward. As you're ready, you can back up from here, coming into our figure 4 shape. The blocks are nice too, because you can just lift yourself and carry yourself up. We'll start to hinge forward again here. And as much as possible, keep your hips from rotating one way or the other, so that it just comes straight down the center. Usually your left and right have a different experience, and that is normal and perfect. Start coming out of this. Bring our right foot over left calf, hugging our knee in towards our chest. Bringing our foot back to the floor and finding an opening and a twist out towards the left. And come back and find the seated position that you started in, or maybe a different one. And we'll close out our practice this morning with another round of Nadi Shodhana, the alternate nostril breathing, and just taking a few moments to reflect on how contentment shows up for you in a day, or maybe not, or within your practice, if there are some moments that you felt really just at peace with. So we'll take our Nadi Shodhana hands again, thumb out, pinky out. And this time we'll start with the other side. So we're gonna inhale in on our left side. So, and if you remember which side you did and it's the opposite, do that. So we'll inhale in. And out the alternate nostril. Inhaling in on that side. Exhaling out. And take 2 more rounds. And as you come to close, you can bring your hands to heart center. Take a few normal, steady breaths. Noticing what's different after your practice this morning. thank you for those who are watching now. Well, it's always now. Whether it's Sunday morning or sometime in the future, thank you so much. Thank you for supporting MTUG and their work. Om Shanti. Peace.
Thank you so much, Tiger. Oh my goodness, that was amazing. That's exactly what I needed. I don't know if any of you feel the same way out there at home. I just followed along with that amazing morning flow from Tiger, and I feel energized and ready to get on with the rest of the show. Thank you so much. So great, y'all. So great. We have had a bunch of donations in the last couple hours that I want to mention. Let me just turn this music down. All right. So we are over $16,897, y'all. $16,897. That's incredible. Thank you to those who donated overnight in the wee hours. That's usually, not the most watched hours of our broadcast. And so we really appreciate the generosity overnight. Particularly a gift from Michelle, a $200 gift from Michelle, in order to win that prize pack from Joss Barton. The wagons ain't here yet. So Michelle, that's that awesome zine and t-shirt pack is going to you. Thank you for your generous gift of $200. Thanks also to Wendy Freeman Mosley, Nate L, Kimmy G, Courtney B, Courtney $207. Thank you so much. Everyone, we really appreciate these gifts. This is helping us make our goal of $30,000. We're well over halfway now, so I know we're going to get there. Please share this with your friends and invite them to tune in and invite them to donate, because this is really a team effort here. And Tiger, thanks again. I can't say enough about how much I enjoyed that. I really love how much you incorporated the foundational aspects. And I feel like I've been practicing yoga for, I don't know, maybe 20 years now, and I learn something new every time I practice with a different instructor, and I really learned a lot from your, just that 40 minutes was incredible. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that's what you're supposed to do in Shavasana and all that. So really amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have a special guest in the house. We're going to turn that over now to the interview room. And then later in the broadcast, we're going to have a coffee talk segment where we will be chatting with some of our political leaders and influentials here in our community. We have lots more entertainment coming up later in the broadcast. So I hope that you will continue to tune in. We are going to be live coming at you on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, all the channels between now and noon at the end of our broadcast. So now's the time, y'all. Wake your friends up and tell them to tune in. So I just need a signal to let me know if they're ready over there in that interview room. Awesome. So we're going to toss it over now to Sayer and Heidi Jo. We'll have a little convo over there in the interview room. Thanks.
Hello, and welcome back to the interview room. Thanks, Kristen. Thanks, Tiger. That was lovely.